This is my sister,
What's your name?
Nicole.
How old are you?
I'm 5. No, I mean, I'm 6. Yes, I am. I'm 6. 6.
She's come a long way since she was diagnosed. When she was first diagnosed, she was completely nonverbal. And with ABA therapy, speech, occupational therapy, and a wonderful teacher that she had for a few years in preschool, she's reading, she's communicating much better now. She still has trouble with that. That's probably her biggest milestone right now.
Autism is a neurological disability that affects children and adults, and it's related to the way that the brain develops and the way that the individuals perceive information, both socially and in terms of communication and their interest and attention.
Here at our center, we've had literally a 300% increase. When I started working with autism in Florida, I've been in the state for about 8 years now, and the number that was used at the time for the incident rates was 1 out of 500. Well, now we're down to 1 in 150, but on a whole, I think we have a significant increase in the incidence of autism.
The kinds of strains families feel are all across all areas. They are financial, they are emotional, they have to worry about the needs of their other children and whether they're spending too much time with the child who has an autism spectrum disorder.
When they first find out, especially if they have a child who's diagnosed early, the strain of the stress related to what do we do now? There's a lot of professional involvement that happens initially.
They have to worry about finding the right therapist. They have to worry about whether their insurance will be able to cover the right kinds of therapies or the things that their child needs. They have to worry about whether the school system is going to be able to handle their child and provide a good quality education for the child. They have to worry about long-term planning, what will happen to them after they're gone, what will happen to their child.
There's a lot of time spent in doctor's appointments, in therapies, and also those parents go through what is basically like a grieving process. So, finding out your child has a disorder, what is that going to mean? Going through the guilt, going through the acceptance, and that things will be different.
Well, it's multi-layered, depending on the level of need of the child or the adolescent. A lot of times related services such as occupational therapy, speech therapy, behavioral support are not enough alone for a child, even if they're getting them in school, which in itself can be a challenge.
Also, there is a large percent in the disabilities population on a whole, but especially in the autism community, of families who do not stay together. And so that makes an additional strain on the family or on each of the parents, or if the one parent who might end up for all of the care. And we have a lot of grandparents who have become the providers for the child with autism or children with autism. Financially, a strain, there are some services from birth to 3 that are at no cost to families, but after that, the cost begins to be picked up by the family or their insurance carrier, the state if the family qualifies for aid. But as the child continues to get older, the strains and the financial continues.
Sometimes those resources are limited. 30 minutes of speech for someone who has no language, you really have the burden as a parent on the outside to get additional related services, which can be quite expensive, especially if your insurance plan doesn't cover it. There's a 7-year waiting list to get on the med waiver in Florida, so parents can be waiting 7, even 9 years to get some related services. So it's either pay out of pocket or not get served.
And some of those things are also childcare, even for families if they can afford childcare, who will provide childcare for children who have autism, if their needs are significant, and how and the proximity to where the family works, and they don't get a break. There's very rarely a break for families who are caring for children with autism.
You know, there's this convergence between need and resources at early intervention, and you don't get a chance to plan for it. So I think it's the impact on families is quite significant.
I think that today in this area, you can't go down the street without seeing a car that has some kind of autism sticker or magnet attached to it. I think that the community is much more aware of the population of people with autism spectrum disorders, and they've done a lot of things to try and develop programs to help and support them. The opportunities to participate on sports teams, rec clubs, support groups, and things like that that have been developed in the community. We're doing our best as CARD to try to educate the different organizations in the community on how to be successful with people with autism in their Cub Scout troops and in their Sunday school classes and different other kinds of community activities that the kids want to participate in or the families want to participate in. So I think the community has come a long way in understanding what autism is and what the needs of the families and children are, and they're trying to help to support those needs as best possible. You know, we've worked with a lot of families on educating the families on what their rights are for educational services and training them how to develop with the team of educators the best educational plan for their child. We've seen children who've been able to improve their skills in communication through some of the more than words training that we've done, and families that have been able to increase their self-confidence and their own abilities to work to make their children's lives as positive as possible.